Hi, welcome back to the shed for episode 16 of Great Guitar Build Off 2023. And in this episode, I'm going to be adding the binding to the guitar body wings. Initially, I was going to be using some cream plastic binding for this job, but shall I just say the response to that was somewhat muted? Actually, I'll go a little bit further. I asked you to fight me in the comments and it was horrendous. Nobody wanted the cream plastic binding at all. Everyone wanted the Wenge, so I am going to go with the Wenge. I think it might be a bit of a nightmare. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I don't even know if it's doable, but we'll give it a crack. I wasn't really sure how I was going to go about cutting this veneer. As I've mentioned before, Wenge is quite brittle and splintery, and obviously this is about 0.6 of a mil thick, so this is extremely brittle. However, I have managed to kind of get my head around it a little bit and come up with a bit of a plan. So I've set my calipers to 8mm, which is 2mm more than we need, but I think too much is always better than too little. And I'm just going to tape that into position so it can't move. I've got the piece of veneer taped down as well. Spin that round so I'm working from the right side. And then I'm just going to cut it with a scalpel. I'm going to kind of try and do this in a couple of passes. So I'm not kind of pulling too hard on it and moving it about. And there's one 8mm strip of veneer. Now this is very, very flexible, so I don't think there'll be any problem getting this to go around the curves. Maybe potentially this curve on the bottom horn might be a bit of an issue. Right, just need to cut another 5 of those. Okay, so we're ready to go on these binding channels now, and I've been round this and I've given it a good sand just to kind of remove any lumps or bumps. The binding cutter has got a bearing on it and it will follow this edge exactly, so any undulations in there will show through in the binding channel. So that's all cleaned up. I've got my little router and I've got my Radian Tools binding cutter bit in there. It comes with a variety of bearings, so you can cut a number of different size channels, and it's actually got 3 flutes on it instead of the usual 2. Just makes a much nicer job. And after much nagging, I finally got round to making a big base for my router, and this will help keep everything much more stable on what is actually a fairly limited size piece of wood. So I'll just get everything set up and we can start routing out these channels. Okay, so there's the binding channels cut in both of those. I'm really pleased with the way that they've gone. Very clean, very smooth. No chipping at all of the veneer, which was my major concern. So that's one major hurdle out of the way. So next up, we just need to figure out a way of getting these strips of veneer all glued in. I'm not even sure if this is possible or not. I've never seen it done before. I could be onto a real loser here and spend hours messing about to no avail, but I'm going to give it a go. Now, I have got a problem with this in so much as whatever glue I choose to glue this in with, I can't really afford to get any onto the veneer. Don't really want to get any onto the mahogany either, but definitely not the veneer, because this is probably going to have some kind of stain or coloured finish on it, and if I get glue all over it, it's going to be patchy and blotchy, and the stain isn't going to soak in the same as it would everywhere else. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask it all off. So I'll mask right up to the edge on the mahogany in there, and then I'll mask probably over the edge of the maple and just trim that off with a scalpel. So I've got a nice sharp line round there. This tape is generally quite good and it doesn't wick glue underneath it like some do, so hopefully won't have any problems. So I'll get these prepped up, and while I'm doing it I can think about what glue I'm going to use on this. I'm thinking Type Bond at the moment. Okay, time to try and get this all glued up now. I'm going to start with the top wing because it's less bendy, I think, than the bottom one. So I think it will be the easier of the two. I've got my 3 pieces of veneer. I think what I'm going to do initially is I'm going to stick these in position temporarily with some masking tape at the bottom here. Start gluing probably here, work my way around with the glue down to this point, and then tip this in the vise and work my way back there. And my plan is to get some glue on all 3 pieces and then simply get some masking tape on, and hopefully that will be enough to hold it all in place. Masking tape is very good at clamping stuff in position. If you get 2 or 3 layers of it together, it is very strong, so hopefully that will be enough. I'm going with Type Bond and I'm just going to apply it with a little brush. So hopefully I won't get it absolutely everywhere. So I'll stop talking and I'll try and film this as best I can. It's a little bit awkward, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, so there's the first one, well and truly mummified. I'll be honest, I'm not supremely confident that that's gone down particularly well. It didn't seem to be pulling in as tight as I'd like it, but it's very, very difficult to tell with all of this masking tape on. It is definitely proud of the mahogany, but I knew that 3 layers of binding was slightly thicker than the channel that we cut, so that was to be expected. I suppose there's only really one thing that I can do, and that's just leave this to dry up. So I'm going to probably leave it overnight to dry up as much as possible. We'll get this masking tape off and see how we've done before we even attempt to do the second one. There is a chance we'll be taking this off again. Okay, I know I said I was going to leave this overnight for the glue to dry, but I'm too nervous for that. I'm really desperate to see how this has gone. So I've come back after a couple of hours and I'm going to take this tape off and see what it looks like. This could take a little while. Now, there is some wet glue under that tape, but I think that's just where it's squeezed out. I don't think it's actually the glue that's holding anything together. We'll soon find out if it all comes springing off. And we know it was. Well, surprisingly, that's gone really, really well. There's a little bit in this top corner where it hasn't quite gone round, which is a shame. There's a split there, but I believe it's above the level that we're going to trim down to anyway. And it's a little bit high right in that corner there. So we might have to do a little bit of remedial work there. It looks like it's going to, if I could put a bit of pressure on that with a clamp, maybe I might have to make a little bit of a call to do it. I think I could get that bit down. I don't think that bit's going to go down. That's going to need a little bit of filling, I think. But on the whole, I'm very, very happy with that. I can't really do a lot to it right now. I'm going to have to leave this for a few hours for this glue to properly dry up and harden before I can start trimming it down. I'll bring you a little bit closer to have a look at this, but the joint between the mahogany and the wenge looks really good as well. So far, so good. Okay, so I've done a little bit of repair work there and I've glued that in. I've just clamped it in with a big piece of dowel and that's pushed it right into that corner. So I don't think it's absolutely perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. So next we need to clean this one up, and it is proud on this face, but I think that's just a matter of sanding it down. And it is also a couple of mil high on this side. And I need to be very careful kind of cleaning this up, because if I nick this veneer at all, it will just go straight through and that will be ruined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking it down with my little plane, get it fairly close with that, and then it's either a card scraper or some sanding to get it properly flush. Just going to have to go very steady with it. It's just a case of kind of following it round and planing it down. Now, there are some gaps when you first start, but as you get through it, it all starts to kind of become one piece of wood. And it actually looks quite nice. I'll bring you in for some closer shots once we've got it a bit further cleaned up. Okay, so that's the binding trimmed off onto the front face. It's It's gone okay. I'll give you a closer look in a minute. So next up, I need to flush it down with the edge, and it is a little bit proud, but I'm hoping with a nice sharp card scraper, we'll soon get that flushed down nice and level. And I have to say, on this bit at least, it's looking very nice. It's very subtle against the mahogany. There's not a huge amount of contrast. So I'll get the rest of this cleaned off and we can come in for a closer look. Okay, and there's the first one done. Actually looks very nice, I'm pleased with that. And you can see there, it's a subtle effect on the side, but you can see it, and I think once it's got a finish on, it'll look really, really nice. So all in all, very happy with that. I've managed to do it without going through the maple veneer as well, so that's an extra bonus. So next up, we need to do exactly the same on the other one. However, I have noticed that there's some quite large straight areas on this one. So I'm going to alter my technique a little bit, and I'm going to try clamping that with some straight cawls on those straight areas. Maybe get a curved cawl into that radius there, and then do the rest of it with the tape. Hopefully that will make things a little bit easier. Okay, I think I need a fresh roll of masking tape. Okay, so that's all glued up now. Actually went a lot easier using the clamps and this method. Went on easier. I don't know if it's glued down any better or not. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm going to leave this now, probably overnight, for the glue to dry. And then I'll set about stripping off all this masking tape and getting it all cleaned down, the same as we did the other one. But I'll do that off camera because I'm running out of time a little bit on this one. And while I'm doing that, I'll start to think about how I'm going to bind the headstock as well. But that's going to be a thing for the next episode, so I'll leave this one here. So as always, don't forget to smash that like button if you've enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a few days' time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.